got? Oh, trash? Here, we'll put this on so I don't forget it. Just to remind me. I got an air horn in the back. I have asked, but I have not been instructed to do so. Well, I don't want to cross the president. I know what you're saying. I'd love to, because I got 2 air horns back there. Oh, they're loud. Yeah. But I could bring one out here and just set it here. But it'll hurt your ears. Especially if I blow it into the mic. I might blow up the system. I know you did.
I'm good. How are you? I am. I won't keep this mouth shut. Isn't he staying on for the next year? That would be nice. I don't know who's Brad, is he? Oh, good. Oh, I hope he does. This pen, neither one of these pens are working. Can you give me a pen? Do you have any public hearings? Ready?
That's it. It's up to you, Madam President. Hit that gavel. Hit it hard.
We're going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order. Clerk will now read the roll.
Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
For those who voluntarily wish to do so, will you please stand as we are led in prayer by Dr. Donzella Rogers. Immediately following our prayer, we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm actually going to ask if Councilwoman Amobian can do that for us.
Let's all bow. Our Father, as we gather together, we ask that you bless our endeavors to make our city a doable and livable place for us all. We pray your blessings upon each and every decision, that it be the right one made at the right time. Bless each person that represents our neighborhood and city. Remember, Father, you said in Isaiah 54:17, there's no weapon that will be formed against us, and it shall not prosper. And every tongue that rises against us shall be condemned. For this is the heritage of the saints, and their righteousness is from me, saith the Lord. God bless us all. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
Clerk will read the minutes from our previously held meeting.
Minutes from October 15, 2018. Council convened a regular session at 7 p.m. with President Somerville in the chair. All minutes of the previous regular meeting were approved. Reading of petitions and communications, passage of the consent agenda, report of standing and special committees, passage and referral of new ordinances and resolutions, representation for various departments and divisions, public speaking period, no further business on a motion by Fusco. Council adjourned at 7:50 p.m. to reconvene in regular session on October 22nd, 2018, or special call.
Any corrections or additions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay.
Letters, petitions, and communications.
Petition of Circle K for conditional use to construct a gasoline fueling station and convenience store at the southeast corner of Britton Road and Eastwood Avenue.
File.
Petition of Mustafa Geeth for a conditional use to establish a convenience store at 359 Eastland Avenue.
File.
Petition of Flagship Akron Investments LLC for conditional use to construct a parking lot addition at 722 to 726 Sherman Street.
File.
Petition of Storage America for conditional use to establish a self-storage facility at 2000 Britton Road.
File. You have before you the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. One abstention.
Mr. Kaner.
Roll call.
Is that Mr.? Yes. Okay, hold on. Roll call. Presco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Amovian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Thank you. Before we go into our old business, we do have some special guests in the audience with us on tonight. I'm going to ask if Summer Hall will be so kind to introduce our guest. We actually have some individuals that are going through the Mayor Citizens Institute here with us on tonight. Summer Hall acts as the facilitator coordinator for the program.
Thank you, President Somerville. Thank you, everyone. I would like to introduce the 2018 Class 2 of the Mayor Citizens Institute. This was developed by Mayor Dan Horgan to educate the citizens in Akron on how the city works, the ins and outs. So if Class 2 can stand up. Thank you.
Wow.
Also, I'd like to take about a minute or two, introduce Brian Schimmer, one of the class members, and he's just going to talk about the Institute.
This takes about 3 minutes, so I will speak as quickly and as audibly as possible for the sake of time. 2 nights ago, my high school progressive indie rock band played a performance up in North Olmsted. It was a reunion show since we haven't played together in years. In between songs, the lead singer said he had to tune his guitar He asked me to speak into the microphone to entertain the crowd. I thanked people for coming, and then I thought to myself, wow, I see a lot of young mothers and fathers in the crowd. So then I did one of the boldest things I've ever done. And to a packed house, I educated them on infant mortality. Let me tell you, if you've ever wondered how to quiet a large crowd, if you've ever wondered how to make a lot of smiling faces turn into awkward, nervous faces, then bring up infant mortality in the middle of your indie rock concert. Hold on to that thought for just a moment. I'll circle back to it. I'm Brian Kima, 4th generation travel agent at my family's business in Fairlawn. Yes, I may make my money in 44333, but I live and I spend my money in 44303. You're welcome. In 1918, my great-grandfather immigrated from Bucharest, Romania, and started my family's travel agency on South Main Street here in downtown Akron. This is our 100th year in business. I'm so proud to carry on this legacy. I know very little about my great-grandfather, except that he didn't speak much English. This was the city that welcomed him and allowed him to start a small business, and it would carry on for at least 4 generations, assuming the business doesn't crumble in my hands. And throughout all my life, I've heard amazing things about my great-grandfather, who still remains a mystery to me. I hear that he was strong in his community of East Akron, where he lived. Let's hear it for Ella. I hear he worked hard and had amazing connections to make sure that all newly arrived Romanians had jobs and knew how to get anything they needed accomplished through their connections. And most importantly, I know that I have so thoroughly reaped the benefits of the hard sowing he did here in this amazing city. So therefore, one of my life goals has always been to give back to the city of Akron, but I've spent my years trying to understand what that looks like. I'll wrap this up, I'm so sorry. In my job, I get to travel the world, and when I do, I make sure to wear my Rubber City t-shirts, and I tell people why Akron is the greatest city in the world. So signing up for this class with these wonderful people has been a no-brainer for me. I'm so thankful I was accepted. But soon into this class, meaning the first week, I was embarrassed to learn how little I actually knew about Akron. See, I'm one of the biggest advocates I know for the city, and yet I didn't even know who John Valley was. But today I stand here proud because now after this class, I'm eager to speak up about what I've learned. I'm not going to be silent when I hear comments about the corrupt police in Akron. Nope. I'm going to tell them the amazing things our Chief of Police is doing to educate the public, keep our streets safe, and the amazing efforts put forth into making our police force more diverse. I'm eager to share with others about our teammates down at Lock 3 who diligently work to ensure our downtown is filled with fun and family-friendly activities. And if you say there's nothing to do in downtown Akron, well then you don't know about Lock 3. And maybe what hit home most to me was learning about that Akron has a problem with infant mortality and what I can do to educate others about this. So 2 nights ago, after my band finished our set, I was kicking myself wondering, did I do the right thing by bringing up infant mortality at a rock concert? Yet afterwards, I had about 8 different people approach me and thank me for bringing up that difficult subject. And one of the individuals was a mom who was 7 months pregnant, and she said, Brian, I'm gonna remember what you said tonight. So I thought to myself, okay, this was worth it. An uncomfortable speech now may save lives later. And if I can tell 100 people at a rock concert, and they can tell their friends and family, and you all can educate your friends and family, then maybe we can actually see a difference in the fruit of our labors in our own lives here. So to my fellow Class 2 mates of the Akron Mayor's Citizens Institute, we're very lucky and privileged to be a part of this class this fall, but now we have a responsibility, but what a cool responsibility it is. To the mayor and his staff, and I want you all to know that this class did serve a purpose, because our class number 2 truly is the best, and we will be making connections and educating those we come in contact with about all we've learned. And maybe most importantly, our class wouldn't have been a class at all without Summer Hall and the amazing work she did. Thank you.
Wow, you're amazing. Are you the class president? Are you the president of the class? I just want to to say congratulations to the 2018 class. I hope that you enjoy your experience. We look forward to seeing you again, so please come and visit us again. And as you begin to learn and see some of the challenges that the city of Akron faces, we're looking forward to some of your ideas to help us solve some of these issues. So thank you so much for your willingness and participation in the class. And if you're more than welcome to stay for the meeting, are they going to stay and partake? Okay, wonderful. We'll now go into our old business, rules. Councilman Keith.
Thank you, Madam President. We would like time with what is on the agenda, please.
Time will be granted. And we'll just have you keep standing. Budget and Finance.
The committee looked at this today, and the committee is requesting suspension of the rules with a favorable report, please.
Is there any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you so much. This was brought before us, and when it was brought before us in committee, Councilman Freeman also mentioned, who is chair of this committee, that if you had any questions, please give them to Steve Fricker. He said within the last week he has heard nothing, so I believe that this report was done well enough that we can read it, decipher it, and we have no questions. So with that, we would like the respect of the rest of council to suspend the rules on this.
The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Key, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Sample, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Planning, Councilman Fusco.
Yes, Council President Somerville, the request of the committees for time on items 1 and 2.
Time will be granted on items 1 and 2.
The request of the committees to file 3 and 4.
Items 3 and 4 will be filed.
Time on the ballots.
Time will be granted. Public Safety, Councilman Kamer.
Committee's report is time still.
Time will be granted. We will now move into our new legislation, rules.
Okay. Rules. Resolution offered by Mayor Horgan, Councilwoman Sims, and Councilwoman Amobian. Resolution expressing support for alternative pathways to graduation in Ohio, urging the General Assembly to extend alternative pathways to graduation to the classes of 2019 and beyond, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee met today, and we had the good fortune of having State Rep Tavia Golansky with us to express her dismay and the work that she has done. But what was important is the champions, besides our state rep, were teachers and parents that have coming together, and kids that are saying this isn't right and we need to fix it. So this is a temporary fix. However, we are requesting that this resolution be looked at carefully tonight, because as a committee we have suspended the rules because we have a favorable report, and that is how we would like council to look at it also.
Okay. Any objections on suspension of the rules? So we do have a motion from Mayor and Council as a whole. One also give an opportunity. I don't know if any of the other sponsors, Councilman Sims, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Madam President. I'm hopeful that we can pass this tonight as committee as a whole, but I just want to say I spent a little time over at the school board today, so we anticipate the school board will be doing a similar resolution in support of reinstatement of our alternative pathways. Unbeknownst to many folks, not only just in the city of Akron, we have some really tender situation where parents are not really sure if their young people are going to be able to graduate because they don't meet the current standards and requirements. You know, in 2014, there was some change in state requirements relative to graduations. We went to a point system, and it really leaned a lot on testing. And as we know, our students are not cookie cutters. And so there was a creation of alternative pathways that still allowed our young people to prove their proficiency at the same time by alternative means. For some reason, we didn't get that activated for this school year. The hope is that with all of the urgency from the super urban 8 districts, as well as our teachers unions and our school boards across Ohio, that we can get some movement on this and reinstate it, and so that our young folks won't be anxious and know that they will be graduating. So I just thank my colleagues for their support on this piece, and I don't know if my co-sponsor has any thoughts on it, but I yield to her.
Councilwoman Mobian?
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to echo everything that my fellow councilwoman has stated. I think it's important that we acknowledge the fact that we were attending Councilman Mikovich's award meeting at the time that House Representative Tavia Golansky discussed this. And I want everybody to recognize that we're not talking about watering down the standards to graduate. We're talking about finding alternate ways to test children so that people can see they have the skills and the abilities, but everybody doesn't test well. Everybody doesn't take an ACT and an SAT and get the same kind of score, but you can demonstrate that you have the knowledge and the skills and that you're ready to go to the next level of your education through alternative means, and this is what we're talking about. And this was permitted last year for graduating class, but the legislature did not do it for this year. So Representative Golansky is out asking for support of everyone who has any contact with any representatives we have in Ohio General Assembly to get them to move this, because young people should not be held back because they make a low score on an ACT or SAT, but they have demonstrated that they have passed advanced courses in college, they do well in math, science, and English, they are ready to go to college, they just don't get that, whatever that magical number is. And there are alternative ways to demonstrate that you have the skills and abilities to move on. So we thank you very much for, and we're asking for council as a whole with this, Madam Chair.
I want to thank you, Madam President. Before we get that second, I know that we had a motion for, would you like to get the second, and then I would like to say one more thing.
Sure, actually, you can go ahead and make your comment.
I can second it myself, right?
You can.
I will second that motion as council as a whole. But the thing of it is, this has come before council, which is, we're behind. For some reason, like my colleague said, this was missed. It's going to be very important that our voices are heard. I am a former educator, as is Councilman Swirsky, and you don't even have to be an educator to know how detrimental this piece can be unless we can shore it up. So possibly on our own website, on the akroncitycouncil.org website, the information of who we can contact, who we can call, who we can write to can be placed on our website. So any of the people that are in the audience right now are listening to us through our video streaming will also reach out to. This is every man and woman is needed right now to fight for the rights of these children to graduate, and not without qualifications. We're saying give them a chance. And I will tell you that what has been offered as requirements in place of some of the uncertainties are needed requirements and requirements that would attest to any test that they were put to. We cannot keep putting one test in front of children and determining who they are by one test. Mm-hmm. So having said that, I will turn it back over to you, President.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. There is a motion for Mayor and Council as a whole and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Fusco, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Okay. Now we'll go item number 3, offered by Keith. Ordinance authorizing the issuance of a bond of the city in the principal amount not to exceed $6 million for for the sale of the water pollution to the Water Pollution Control Fund of the State of Ohio to finance the cost of improvements to the city wastewater system, pledging certain revenues from the city's wastewater system on a subordinated basis to secure the payment of the principal of the interest on the bond and authorizing the execution and delivery of the bond to the trust agreement and other documents, and taking the other actions related to the issuance and sale of the bond and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee would like this to be placed on the consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 4, offered by Fusco, ordinance approving the expenditure of additional funds for the 2018 Akron Neighborhood Maintenance and Empowerment Program and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Request the committees for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. This is in support of completion of our neighborhood maintenance and empowerment program. In essence, taking care of our vacant land, both private and public. Here in the city of Akron, we had discovered that some of it we have held for over 5 years, and there's a rule within the community development block grant funding from the federal government that those funds can be used for that, and so this is going to fill that hole. It's about $90,000. So we ask for approval this evening on this.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 5, offered by Fusco, ordinance accepting a vacation plat and rededication plat as a utility right-of-way for Firestone Parkway, Firestone Plaza, Gottwald Street, and Cole Avenue, and declare an emergency.
Councilman Fusco?
Request the committees for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. This is for vacation plat, rededication for the utility right-of-ways for those areas that were mentioned, Firestone Parkway, Firestone Plaza, Gottwald Street, and Cole Avenue. This is in a development area that's being quite a bit of investment and possibility in terms of new business moving in, and this is going to be in support of that. We recommend approval this evening.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we have one abstention.
Okay. Roll call and final passage. Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Item number 6, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent, after publicly advertising for bids, to enter into a contract or contracts for the purchase of one breathing air compressor to be used at the Akron Fire Division Maintenance Facility and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer?
Thank you. Committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Any objections? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. This is just a replacement of a breathing apparatus that we currently have that's 20-plus years old. Thanks.
Thank you. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Roll call and final passage. Fusco, Hope, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Neal, Amobian, Samples, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
We will now go to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. If you wish to speak to council during this time, we're going to ask that you approach the podium. Please sign in, state your full name, spell your last name, and give us your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. Speak Speakers are reminded that this is an official meeting. Remarks should be kept respectful and germane to council business. Speakers should refrain from making any personal attacks. Anyone who breaches decorum will be ruled out of order and may be removed from council chambers. Is there anyone here on tonight that would like to speak during our public comment period? You may approach the podium.
Hi, yes. My name is Misty Kagey, C-A-G-E-Y.
Pull that microphone a little bit close to you and make sure you have that red button pushed on your...
Oh,
There you
sorry.
go. There you go.
Hi, my name is Misty Kagey, C-A-G-E-Y. I reside at 1041 Kling Street, Akron, Ohio, 44301. I'm here about 1038 Kling Street. It's across the street from me. People do reside in the home. It's just not safe. The police are constantly there. I've called 311. I've made all the steps that the police and they have told me, and they suggested I come before the city council and make you aware that this is a very disruptive property, and advise you that the people that live on that street, that neighborhood, don't feel safe because of the way these people choose to act and conduct themselves. My children aren't small anymore, but I do babysit for a few people that do still have small children, and they've asked me not to let their children play out front anymore. You know, it's, you know, Mrs. Kagey, can you watch them in the backyard play, you know, so they're not going to be ran over by vagrants. That's really all I came here to let you guys know about.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Kagey.
1041 Kling Street, Akron, Ohio.
After the meeting, I'll talk with you, okay?
Okay.
So please, yep.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, Council. For some of you that may not know me, my name is Harrington Hargrove. I live at 1008 Laurel Avenue, and I'm here to represent Ward 3 and the redlining of economic development. I've been here before, 35 years. Ward 3 has received nothing when it comes to economic development and the black community. And I want to know, why is it that this body won't do anything about it? You know, you're very much aware of it. In 35 years, not one black man has gotten any money under any program. And it's not right. You can't not justify this. They have a 10th Street program. But before there was a 10th Street program, there was a Rhodes Avenue, there was a Wooster Avenue, which is now Vernon Odom Drive, and he stood for representation of everyone. No one has done anything to develop business in the black community. Why is it that regentrification can only be for the white man? Why can't we as black people have ideas for our community? We need someone to understand our need. I heard Friday that whole body, most of us, was up on Copley Road. Why can't y'all come down in Ward 3, which is called a hub zone and empowerment zone, and see what we need? No one will stand up for Ward 3. My councilwoman, I've talked to her. Marco Somerville, I talked to her. Sam DeSazier, I talked to him. He set up a meeting 2 months ago with me, and I had never had a phone call for him. Never. Never. It is not right. There's money available. HUD said it. We're a hub zone and empowerment zone, but this body won't even recognize that. They won't even recognize what the federal government has said. It's not me saying it, but I know about it. I'm living it. And why won't this council stand up and do something for us? Why? Where's the leadership when it comes to the black community? That's all I want to know. Where is the leadership? We have got nothing. Nothing in Ward 3 that represent us. I got letters here. It's the same letter. I'm going to pass this to council. 2014, I received the same letter tonight, and it all represents nothing for us. Nothing. As a developer, why can't we have money? I want to create 20 jobs on Thornton Street, but they say I don't fit. Why not? It's a shame. It's a disgrace. And everybody knows about it, but don't do anything about it. Sam DeShazer, he was in here. He set up the meeting and wouldn't even follow through with the meeting.
Mr. Hargrove?
Yeah.
Sir, your time is up.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak during our public comment period?
Good evening. My name's Carol Coleman Crane. I am the owner of Team Towing and Service on 645 Carroll Street in Akron, 44304. And for those of you that don't remember me, I am the owner of Team Towing and Service, and I've been here several times before asking for to be included in the towing districts for Akron. I wanted to remind you all that I have 5 flatbeds and 4 wreckers and 3 service vehicles. I've done quite a bit of upgrading of my equipment, and I have several brand new trucks. And I contract with AAA, primarily with AAA. I have we're doing between probably 38 to 40% of AAA now. I have an Ajero contract as well as other motor clubs that we also service the residents of Akron. And I also have a contract with the U.S. Postal Service, and we're towing quite a bit for them. And I'm also towing for the Ohio Highway Patrol, and we've been towing for them for several months now, probably 6-8 months now. And I am proud to tell you that my on-scene for the OSP, the shortest has been 3 minutes, the longest is 18 minutes. And we impound vehicles. We do exactly as they say. We've had no incidents. I have 18 to 20 employees. We're a 24-hour operation. We have 24-hour dispatch, and we tow over 2,000 vehicles a month for the city of Akron residents. I also reside in the city of Akron. And I'd like to know where we are. The last time that I spoke and asked for to be included in this into the district, I was asked to give you all time for restructuring of the districts, and I'm just wondering where we are in that process. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be welcome your questions or talk to you after.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. I'm sure that there's some council members who will be happy to talk with you after the meeting.
Thank you, Ms.
You're welcome.
My name is Steve Nome, that's N-O-M-E. Live at 1928 6th Street, Cuyahoga Falls. I'm a City of Akron retiree, and I'm here again about the City of Akron retiree spouses insurance. In 2018, my pension increased by $62 a month, while my monthly insurance cost increased by $97 a month. Now, OPR's retirees recently received notification about the 2019 medical plan coverage. For retirees, the cost will go up nearly $62 a month, a yearly increase of about $740 for a total cost of almost $3,700 for the year. For retiree spouses, the cost will rise roughly $150 a month, a yearly increase of $1,760 for a total of over $16,000. So retiree and spouses would have to pay nearly $20,000 for health insurance in 2019. Quite an increase from the no cost for quality insurance in 2015 to nearly $20,000 in 2019. A friend of mine suggested to me that would be like buying a new car every year and then giving it away after a year and buying another new car and then giving that away after a year. And I said, he and I agreed we didn't know anybody who could do that. And I can't believe that any of you or most of the people in Akron are so wealthy that they could take on this tremendous expense without being financially impacted. I know you've told me that you're unable to openly discuss this problem because of the active court cases pending. I do not want you to forget about this problem, which in my sight is the fault of the administration, which has embraced the concept of saving money over working with the unions and retirees to try and reach an equitable solution. While I had hoped that the court system's involvement would help to resolve this problem, the turtle-like pace of the court decision suggests that court only hinders a just resolution. Though I don't like it, and it runs counter to my belief, I think I may have to adopt what I call the Akron plan. I determine that what I need to save money and then just cut expenses without concern about its possible overall effects to anyone else in order to cope with this exorbitant insurance cost. So when I go to vote, I guess I should be voting against anything that would cost me any money. Renewals, new levies, things that might benefit the community but don't have a direct benefit to me. And I don't need to know exactly how much I'll be saving, because when I asked the city, how much are you saving by cutting out the spouses, they said, we don't know. So anyways, I'm frustrated, and this is very financially challenging, and I really wish that we could work together and come up with a solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Noem. Is there anyone else wishing to speak during our public comment period? Anyone else? Seeing and hearing none, we will close our public comment period, and we will move into our committee assignments. Rules, Councilman Keith. 2:30. Budget and Finance, Councilman Keith. 3:00. Planning, Councilman Fusco. 1:30. Public Service, Councilman Keith. 2:00. Public Utilities, Councilman Samples. 2:30. Public Safety, Councilman Kamer. 15. Parks and Rec, Councilman Neal. 2:15. Housing, Councilman Kilby. Health and Social Services, Councilman Amobian. 2:30. Economic Development, Councilman Sims. 2:45. Green Committee, Councilman Swirsky.
1:00.
Is there anything else coming before council? Councilman Neal?
Thanks, Madam President. Per our conversation, I was going to stand up here and talk about a piece of legislation that council passed back in May, but we hacked it, and that's putting the city's budget in line. But of course, after hearing what was said, and actually even having the mayor's second class of residents that are going through understanding how the city works, I think there's an opportunity for us to ask the administration to plug these folks in to help us achieve some of the goals and objectives that we have on council, working on behalf of our constituents and working in conjunction with the administration. The legislation that's on, a few things come in mind. Having folks that are educated now to how the city's process works. When we went to our tablets, it wasn't just so that we can do away with paper. Part of the online process was to put our legislation online so that residents could follow it through the process and comment on it so that we can come up with a stronger piece of legislation. Many times we've had folks that have come down here that have talked about by the time they get the paper copy, most of the work has been done and they haven't had a chance to participate in the process. So several things come to mind for us as council as we come towards the end of the year and look at what we've achieved and what we want to achieve. Is any city that's really moving forward, it engages its citizens and empowers them to help move the ball forward. So, not just our legislation, but we also have the piece where we've talked about this, we've been taking time on now for about a year, almost 2 years, in regards to setting up citizen advisory boards within our community. We've got not just the mayor's group, we've got the neighborhood leadership from the Urban League, from the United Way, and then you got Leadership Akron. We have all these people with all this knowledge, and folks that don't even go through these programs that bring their work experience. We have a way of engaging them to where they can work with us on council. I think it would be in our best interest and in the city's best interest to develop a process to engage these folks in the process. And the first one is the one that we've already passed, which is putting the city's budget online, where it's not going to be a stagnant sheet of paper, but citizens will actually be able to give us their input on how they want to see us spend your money. Because if we spend more money on park and recreation, we have to take it from somewhere else. So it'd be good for that. So today, as our council president and I have spoken, we've already passed the legislation to put our budget online. We know we get a 30-day free trial. The question for some was how we were going to pay for it. $8,500. Not a lot of money when you talk about us passing legislation, millions of dollars every day. But since we have to assign it to a line item, coming to the end of the year, there are 3 categories where I believe council has not expensed all this money. One is our travel budget. One is the My Neighborhood, Our Akron City Council grant. And another, I think, may be in the contract that we have in white space. Not 100% sure on that one. If council has any concern, we've already passed the legislation to put it online. We can do that with the 30-day free trial. With the time it's going to take us to load the information, do the free trial, we're probably going to be looking at, before we can test it out with our citizens, we probably won't be able to even touch it until late December, and we go on recess for 2 weeks, so we're probably looking at January. And if we don't use one of those, by that time we're into our new budget process when we can put it into our new budget. I'm saying that because we cannot delay this any longer. Every concern that was brought to us today, every concern goes back to the budget. Lastly, Madam President, I think we heard from Ms. Coleman Crane, Mr. Nome, Mr. Hargrove. They brought us these concerns over and over. I think as council, we owe it to them because we're going to be going into looking at a new budget for pensions and everything. We did promise Ms. Crane that we would get her an answer in regards to looking at a new towing to provide opportunity. We need to be able to report out to folks that come down. If a concern does not fit within a committee that we already have on council, then we need to establish a new one. But I'm sure I'm not the only one. It has to concern folks. We have people coming over and over and over, asking for opportunity, asking for equitable inclusiveness, and we may be working on it, but when we don't report back to them, and now that we have folks that are possibly even following our meetings online, we have to have some way of showing that their concerns aren't just falling on dead ears, and that we do want to report back. So some of this may take for some time for us to caucus as a council to put some structure to some of this, but the one thing that we can act on right now is if we need to bring in legislation next week to actually assign, is putting our budget online so we can engage our citizens in the city's budget process. But as I said, by the time the information is loaded and this is going, we may not even have to touch a line item from this year because it'll be time to put it in next year's budget. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to address a few things Councilman Neal said while I have a moment. First and foremost, I did want to remind everybody the city does have about 40 boards and commissions that we appoint, and we've actually utilized the Citizens Institute Class 1 as perfect examples of how we engage the Citizens Institute. So we fully plan on staying engaged and staying in touch with all of you, and we've already seen the fruits of that labor in some of the appointees that we've done in Class 1. So we really hope that we can engage everyone further in that process. And second of all, I did want to remind everyone that our city budget is actually already online. We did that in 2016, and citizens are welcome to take a look at it and contact us via social, via email, via phone call, if we would like to engage in that any further. So just wanted to point those two things out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilman Neal?
Just so that citizens are not confused, it's not a stagnant PDF file. We're talking about the budget being online where citizens can actually see when you take 10% from one area, how it affects the overall budget. And this is not just a tool for our citizens. Council needs this tool so that we can be better, have a better understanding of how, when we allocate funds, how it impacts our overall budget. This is not a PDF file. This is not a stagnant piece of paper. This is the actual budget online, so when you take $1 from one area, you see how it affects the overall budget. Plus, the tool also allows for citizens' engagement throughout the budget process, and you can follow their comments as well. So this is an economic tool that not only benefits council, but benefits our constituents as well.
Thank you. Councilwoman Samples?
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to rise in with concern. This past weekend, we've had another influx in gun violence here in the city of Akron. We had 2 young people who died over the weekend, one right over by Grace Park by the Trinity Lutheran Church, and then one just last night, 20-year-old. That one, I think, was probably the hardest because the neighbors in that neighborhood I've known since I was a little girl called me, and I actually went over to the neighborhood. This little boy was 20 years old, and the parents showed up on scene with their child dead in the front seat of that car, and that was hard. Cleveland had their gun back this weekend, and they were able to get 185 guns off the street. And I know a lot of people say gun buybacks don't work, but I'm telling you, if you talk to that family, I think that they would probably say otherwise. So I want us to revisit this conversation that we've had. We had a nice team put together, and a nice structure put together to do this, and for whatever reason it fell apart. I'm hoping that we can go back and revisit this and really, really put some meat behind making sure that this happens. One gun may save a life, may change something, may change an outcome, but we don't know unless we try. And if Cleveland can get 185 off the street just with gift cards, I'm sure we can do something as well. And I just want us to really be conscious of what's going on around us. These are not responsible gun owners that we're talking about here. We're talking about guns getting in the hands of these young people, and they're ending each other's lives with no care or concern about who it's all affecting. So if we could get back together, a lot of my colleagues worked on that committee with me, and I'm just hoping that we can really sit down and have a conversation about how we can change some things around here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilman Fusco? Is there a second? Meeting adjourned.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council, presiding.